Burkina Faso is facing a coordinated wave of terror, with attacks reportedly striking at the core of its military infrastructure.
Burkina Faso is once again under pressure. And this time, the attack hit one of the country's military bases. Reports say armed insurgents launched a coordinated assault in the northern region. The fighting was intense. Gunfire echoed before sunrise. Reinforcements were deployed. Casualty numbers began circulating almost immediately. Some confirmed, others exaggerated. But beyond the noise and headlines, one question matters. What does this attack really mean for Burkina Faso? Was this a sign of collapse? Or just another phase in a long and brutal war? Let's break it down clearly. First, understand this: insurgent groups in the Sahel do not attack randomly. They study movements. They monitor patrol routes. They observe response times. When they strike a military base, it is calculated. These attacks are designed for two things: damage and psychological impact. In many cases, the goal is not to hold the base permanently. It is to hit hard, create fear, record the chaos, and withdraw before air or ground reinforcements arrive. This tactic has been used across Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso for years. So the key detail here is not just that an attack happened. It is how the army responded. Did reinforcements arrive quickly? Was the base reclaimed? Were the attackers pursued? Because in asymmetric warfare, the difference between pressure and collapse is response speed. Now let's talk about geography. Northern Burkina Faso is not just another region. It is strategically sensitive. It connects to border zones that have long been exploited by armed networks moving between Mali and Niger. These borders are vast, difficult to monitor, and historically porous. Insurgent groups take advantage of terrain familiarity and cross-border mobility. That doesn't mean the state is absent everywhere. It means the battlefield is fluid. And fluid battlefields produce surprise attacks. When Captain Ibrahim Traoré took power, he inherited an already complex war. Years of instability had weakened public confidence. Previous strategies struggled to contain the expansion of armed groups, so his government shifted direction. One major move was expanding the volunteers for the defense of the homeland, local civilian auxiliaries meant to support the army. The logic was simple. If the army cannot be everywhere, communities must become part of defense. Local volunteers know their villages. They recognize strangers. They detect unusual movement faster than centralized forces. But expanding local defense structures comes with challenges. Training must be consistent. Command coordination must be clear. Communication lines must be reliable. If even one layer weakens, gaps appear. An attack like this may not mean the entire system failed. It could mean insurgents found a temporary weakness. There is a difference. Now let's address something important: perception. In today's world, wars are fought on screens as much as on the ground. Within minutes of the attack, images spread online. Smoke rising, armed men moving, confusion. Social media amplifies shock. Numbers get inflated. Rumors move faster than verification. And suddenly, one attack feels like total collapse. But war does not work that way. If every attack meant defeat, no country fighting insurgency would survive. What matters is trajectory. Is territory overall shrinking or expanding under insurgent control? Are supply routes more secure than last year? Are displaced communities returning? Those are real indicators, not viral clips. Now let's widen the lens. Burkina Faso is no longer operating in the same regional framework as before. Together with Mali and Niger, it formed the Alliance of Sahel States, a new regional bloc focused on mutual defense and sovereignty. This shift changed alliances. Whenever a country restructures security partnerships, adversaries test the transition. They probe weaknesses. They look for gaps. They attempt high-profile attacks to send a message. So this assault may also be part of a broader test. A test of coordination. A test of intelligence sharing. A test of regional response capability. One incident alone does not determine the strength of that alliance. Patterns do. If similar attacks increase without containment, that signals strain. If attacks are followed by rapid counter-operations and territory stabilization, that signals adaptation. Now let's talk about Gen Z because they are watching closely. Young Africans today are not reacting with blind panic. They have grown up seeing instability headlines. They understand that conflict in the Sahel is layered and long-term. So when news breaks, they ask practical questions. Is the government adjusting strategy? Are security forces improving? Is progress visible month to month? Support for leadership in times like this depends on results, not speeches. Captain Traoré built much of his image around sovereignty and national strength. But sovereignty must translate into improved security over time. That is the real measurement. In insurgency warfare, attacks will happen. There is no scenario where they drop to zero overnight. The decisive factor is the response cycle. How quickly does the state regain control? How effectively does it prevent repetition? How well does it protect civilians afterward? Strong systems absorb shock and recalibrate. Weak systems fracture. So far, Burkina Faso remains in the fight. And that distinction matters. Now, what would a real turning point look like? Not just statements, not just promises, but measurable shifts. Fewer large-scale base assaults over 6 to 12 months. More stable towns with functioning schools and markets. Reduced cross-border infiltration. Stronger intelligence coordination within the alliance of Sahel states. And equally important, economic reinforcement. Security and economy are tied together. When agriculture restarts, recruitment drops. When infrastructure improves, armed groups lose leverage. When young men find income, insurgent narratives weaken. Military pressure alone cannot end the insurgency. It must be paired with opportunity. This latest attack is serious. But serious does not automatically mean decisive. Conflict zones experience waves. Pressure increases. Security adapts. Tactics evolve. The real danger is not a single attack. It is stagnation. If adaptation stops, insurgents gain momentum. If adaptation continues, insurgents face compression. Burkina Faso is in the middle of restructuring its security architecture while fighting an active war. That is not an easy environment. Reforms during peace are hard. Reforms during conflict are harder. The question is not whether attacks can be fully prevented. The question is whether each attack strengthens lessons learned or exposes repeating weaknesses. 6 months from now, the true meaning of this event will be clearer. Will attack frequency decrease? Will territorial control improve? Will regional coordination deepen? If yes, this becomes another battle absorbed in a longer campaign. If no, it becomes a warning sign. For now, what we know is this. Burkina Faso is under pressure. The insurgency remains active. The military is being tested. But the state has not disappeared. The system has not collapsed. The war is ongoing. And in wars like this, endurance matters as much as firepower. This moment is not the end of the story. It is part of a larger struggle over stability, sovereignty, and survival in the Sahel. And the outcome will not be decided by headlines. It will be decided by adaptation.